If you were born today, you would have the highest chance of being born somewhere in Asia. And it's honestly not even close, a 61.8% chance. That's blowing out all the other continents. And if you do happen to get this continent, you'd very likely pop up in India or China. Together, India and China's population make up about 60% of all of Asia's population. There's less than 5 billion people that live in Asia as a whole, and 1.5 billion is coming from India, and another 1.5 billion is coming from China. Those are the newest numbers as of 2025 at least. But this map is not just considering overall population, it's actually considering birth rate, which is why if you were born today, you would have a 61% chance of going to Asia. You are going to Asia. But you'd have 1/5 of a chance of popping up somewhere in Africa. Africa is actually the only continent that still continues to have a lot of babies, but they don't have as many people in general, which is why you still have a higher chance of going to Asia. There's actually almost more people in just India alone than the entire continent of Africa. Now here's where things really get depressing. You'd only have an 8.2% chance of popping up in Europe, and I hate to break it to you, but one of those countries you pop up in Europe, it could be Russia. And historically speaking, Russia loves to use their people as meat shields. You'd have a 7.6% chance of being born in North America. And if you are lucky enough to land in North America, you are most likely to pop up in the US. We by far have the most population here. Then there's South America with about a 5% chance. And now the least likely on the list, it's kind of a miracle if you pop up in Australia. Not even a 1% chance to go to Australia, where you literally have a 0% chance of being born in Antarctica. That is, unless of course you were born as a penguin. But you know what? I don't know how accurate that number is though. Maybe the number is very close to 0, but it's not absolute. Believe it or not, there's been 11 babies born in this continent. I mean, you essentially have a 0.000001% chance of being born in Antarctica, but it's not impossible. Who would want that though? I mean, damn. Anyways, point is, if you're being born today, odds are you're not gonna love the place you pop up in. I mean, you might get Asia, but then you could get incredibly unlucky and be born in Japan, or maybe you become like a Saudi Arabian prince. You'd also be born in Singapore and just be hella rich as well. But overall, man, I just do not like these odds. The numbers actually add up to 103%. Is that for the aliens or something? Australia over here like, yeah, we know we're special. I mean, at least Australia made it on the map. But you know what? Considering birth rates are plummeting literally worldwide, I guess we should just be happy you'd be born in general. Because overall, there's just a lot less babies going around than there was in the last century. Well, specifically in the West, especially in the USA. Last year, there was less babies born than there has been in the last like 100 years. And maybe this map is why nobody wants to try these odds. I gotta admit, when this happens to me, my eye winces a little bit. I've never tried to wince on camera before. I don't think this is gonna portray, this is not gonna look that good, but whatever. I don't think I can wince. There seems to be a lot of confusion between what the world thinks and what just the US knows. If you're from any of the red countries, as far as you're concerned, the word Yankee basically just means American. The problem is I've been called a Yankee overseas, and it just feels so wrong. Like, I'm not trying to, you know, like gatekeep here or anything. I just know that I'm not. It feels really weird. I'm never gonna be the guy that's like, well, actually, I'm not a Yankee because I don't, like, I'm never gonna do that. But in my head, I'm just like, it just doesn't even feel right. Like, I just do not, I don't really even like being called a Yankee because it doesn't make sense to me. But this is also because every US state kind of has a different definition of what a Yankee actually is. So in all the green states, apparently we say a Yankee is a northerner. I'm gonna be honest though, I'm from California, born in Alabama. I don't think that's what a Yankee technically is. At least that's not the first thing that comes to my mind when I think of the word Yankee. Now the yellow area, or the area we call the Midwest, they think of the word Yankee as an Easterner, basically. Anyone out towards the east of them. But if you're from Pennsylvania, New Jersey, or New York, you're gonna think of it as a New Englander. Is anyone from up there? You're looking at Massachusetts, Maine, Rhode Island. But funny enough, New England actually thinks of the word Yankee as just someone from Vermont. A Vermonter. What? I've never heard that in my life. Finally, there's Vermont's definition. They think of the word Yankee as just somebody who eats pie for breakfast. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, I don't even know what the word Yankee technically means by like a definition, like textbook definition. Let's figure that out. It's funny because technically nobody is wrong. Well, maybe Vermont is wrong, but there's two definitions: a person who lives in or is from the US, or an inhabitant of New England or is from one of the northern states. Historically speaking, during the Civil War, the northern states were referred to as the Yankees. It actually comes from the British though, back in the 1700s when we were still their colony. That's how they would refer to us. Here's the way I've always thought about it, which is a bit different than the map. It was a New Englander, but including New York, because, I mean, come on, you got the New York Yankees. I don't know if I'm right or wrong. I just think of kind of this area area. I mean, Pennsylvania and New Jersey would kind of be in a gray zone for me if they're a Yankee, but definitely nothing outside of that. Well, maybe not. Maybe it would extend to DC, but anyways, just this area here, just this whole area. When I hear someone call me a Yankee from overseas, it feels really weird. Like, I've only been over to those states like maybe 4 or 5 times my entire life. I don't think of myself at all like a Yankee. I think within New England, Yankee is associated with a few states. New Englanders don't necessarily think of Vermont when they hear Yankee. The Vermont thing is just something this author wrote. As a New Englander, the existence of the New York Yankees has entirely killed off any other association with the term Yankee for us. Yeah. Growing up in rural Middle Tennessee, whether it was accurate or not, the word was used to refer to anyone north of Kentucky. That's hilarious. I feel like even today, like when it comes to Americans using the term Yankee, because I literally never use it, it's mostly coming from the South, and it's the South referring to people from the North, just like in the old Civil War days. Yeah, I don't know why I feel so passionate about this topic. Tips Fedora, who says Milady the most, or who has the most Reddit members? This is a newly updated map with the latest statistics. Now keep in mind, Reddit is mostly an English-speaking site, so that's going to heavily affect these numbers. You're less likely to go on these sides of the internet if you don't speak English. Now luckily, a lot of Europe does speak English. However, this data is going to reflect exactly how much population in each country cannot speak English. Again, you still can use Reddit because a lot of these countries' subreddits will speak in their home tongue, mother tongue, but also population matters quite a bit, which is why Turkey's got 1.7 members in their subreddit. Turkey's one of the biggest countries by population in all of the European continent, even though, you know, Turkey's mostly in Asia technically. Funny enough though, Germany has very similar numbers, but they're only at 1 million. I actually always thought there was a ton of Germans on Reddit, just with all the memes and things like that. Maybe there's a whole new side to this site that I am not aware of that kind of recently changed. 2.5 million French. I actually don't think that's the case. I think so many people are fascinated about France from the English-speaking world, because keep in mind, Paris is, I think, the most visited, or it's one of the most visited cities. It is the most visited country in the world. So I wouldn't really trust all these numbers, at least from the really big places. A lot of these people probably don't actually live in France. They're just people that are about to visit soon. The country with the most members on the list, though, come from the UK. Again, a country with everyone speaks English, and then they probably have a little bit of what the France effect is. A lot of people maybe are visiting the UK as an outsider. They want to check out the Reddit. The numbers are going to reflect all sorts of different little things going on, but for some of the smaller countries, you can probably trust that those are only people from that country. Like Belarus, for example. Those 30,000 members of the Belarusian subreddit, they're very likely just from Belarus. Maybe there's like 1 or 2 from, I don't know, Poland or Russia, but a lot are probably, like 90% I'd say, are just Belarusian. That's probably the same for a lot of the Baltics. Only 3.5 from Estonia. Did their subreddit previously get banned and they had to create a new one? In all the Nordic countries, Sweden is dominating, but Denmark not too far behind. How does a little nation of Denmark have almost as many members as all of Germany? That's crazy. Another thing I'm now just kind of keeping in mind, some of these subreddits might just suck. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no reason to subscribe to some of these subreddits, so maybe that's why they have low numbers. And also keep in mind, sometimes countries are divided amongst different subreddits. So there's like r/Germany, but then there's like more memey ones. Maybe more Germans don't like this specific official subreddit. Well, there is no official subreddit for countries, but minor note here, but out of all the city-states in Europe, I'm talking the Vatican City, San Marino, Liechtenstein, Monaco, and Andorra. Andorra has the most, 16,000? San Marino at only 475, that's insane. I know it's a tiny place, but damn. The Dutch absolutely demolishing Belgium with their numbers. There's no place I love more on Reddit than the former Yugoslavian states. Those places are very entertaining on Reddit. The problem for Estonia is in the description of the subreddit, it literally says it's inactive. Okay, well that would be the issue. They actually have 100,000 members. Again, that's why you got to take all this data with a huge grain of salt. See, this is the problem. Most countries have multiple subs. A lot of people are kind of probably just taking the English version. The big German subreddit is actually this one, r/DE. Remember that everyone refers we're using the English names. Like Germany is the English name. They call themselves Deutschland though. So yeah, that actually says to me that these numbers definitely reflect more foreigners that are just trying to visit the country from the English-speaking world for the first time, whether they're from the UK or the USA. Wow, over 200% of Vatican's population is on this subreddit. Ireland also punching way above their weight, but yeah, the diaspora is probably a big factor in that. I didn't know this until today. Which US states have edit prevention on their Wikipedia page? Certain states are clearly having to restrict that edit button a lot more than others. And oh, would you look at that? Ohio is the only state in all of the US where the only people that can edit their official Wikipedia page, well, their account has to have at least over 500 edits already. So they have to be really established figures, basically. That just says to me that this Wikipedia page has been completely bombarded with misinformation for probably a long time now. I would assume like 5 years. That's when all the Ohio memes, I think, first started. It's too bad. You probably used to be able to scroll this page and find so much misinformation. The yellow states also take this very seriously, though. Only accounts with 10 edits can edit their official page. So funny enough, you're looking at some of the biggest states by population: California, Texas, Florida, Illinois. I think the blue states are most shocking because these are all the states that allow unrestricted edits on their Wikipedia page, and one of them is New York. Bro, after this video releases, I'm pretty sure they're gonna have to change this. You guys might, I don't even know what you guys are about to do while watching this. I mean, even Massachusetts is a pretty big state too. Like, in other words, it's kind of messed up, but some of these blue states are just reflecting the lack of interest in their Wikipedia articles, like Alaska, Nevada, Idaho, Montana, North Dakota. Definitely like West Virginia, Iowa, I can see, but dang, like the North, all the New England states, almost all the New England states, minus Rhode Island. In the final category, the green states, that's unrestricted pending mod approval. That's the only ones that can make edits to their Wikipedia page. That's still kind of lame if you ask me. Arizona, Kansas, Nebraska, South Dakota, Indiana, Pennsylvania. Now, most of the overseas U.S. territories, also in blue, they allow unrestricted edits, except for Guam and Puerto Rico. Probably the two most popular. That's really what this is telling me. Why do I feel like it's already too late? Like, they're gonna have to update this map, and like almost all the states are gonna be in red after this. Ohio is connected to the Ohio meme, I'm guessing. You also can edit pages related to Haley Welch, Italian brain rot, skibbity. So you're telling me the North Carolina page is free real estate? I'm stunned Florida man memes didn't put Florida in the same situation. I'm not sure anyone's ever noticed this, but the former nation of Yugoslavia has borders very similar to modern-day Iran's. They literally got the same little swoop thing going on up here. And funny enough, another similarity these two countries now have, now that you're forcing me to compare the two, they both, believe it or not, have a lot of ethnic groups within their country. Well, Yugoslavia no longer exists, and that also ended up horrible for them. So could Iran be seeing the same fate soon? Like, we all know the largest group of people that live in Iran are Persians, but they also have Azerbaijani, Kurds, Lurs, Arabs. But again, you cannot use Persians and Iranians interchangeably because only 61% of the population are Persian. That's just barely a majority. That's kind of close to what Yugoslavia had going on back in the day, back before they had a brutal civil war and just a lot of horrible things happened when this country ended. I will say Yugoslavia had a far, far worse division of different ethnic groups, only 36%, the majority being Serbs and 19% being Croats. Yeah, no wonder that state ended so brutally. But again, let this be a lesson, Iran. I mean, you got to be a little careful with what's going on. Man, that would be such a disaster to have a Yugoslavian type war in Iran. I mean, there's already so many refugees. There'd be so many more. Yeah, Yugoslavia does kind of look like some massive balls. Wait till you see a side-by-side comparison between Colorado and Wyoming rectangle states. I mean, Iran is basically like the Balkans at this point, right? Speaking of refugees, the country with the most refugees in the entire world is Iran, with 3.4 million right here. A lot of that is due to their geography. Just look at the nations they border. They border Afghanistan, they border Iraq, and just beyond Iraq is Syria. The nation in second place, unsurprisingly, is Turkey, with the second most refugees, 3.3 million. I mean, the top of the list kind of just comes down to, like, how close are you to, well, really destabilized states. But it does get more interesting than that. The third biggest country with most refugees is Germany, 3.5 million. Now, remember that refugees are not just coming from, for instance, Syria. A lot of them, well, in this case, are probably coming from Ukraine as well. Especially in terms of Poland, like a lot of the refugees that are in Poland right now, like out of this 900 million, I don't know if I want to say the majority, but a lot of them are from Ukraine. Maybe a majority, I don't know. That's how Poland rolls. Yeah, I mean, according to this article, literally 100% of that number we just saw, those are all Ukrainians. refugees. 100%. Out of the 2.5 million Germany has here, only 1.2 are Ukrainian, which means that they have other refugees as well. After Iran, Turkey, and Germany, then it's Pakistan on the list. They're at 2 million. Uganda is especially high at 1.5 million here in Africa. Finally, we have Russia, Poland, and Bangladesh. Something that I'm keeping in mind, though, is out of all these countries, well, Uganda has especially low population as is, and so does Poland. Poland taking in 1 million refugees when their population is not that high. Iran's got 90 million population, Turkey's at 80 million, Germany's at 80 million, Pakistan's over 200 million, Poland's only at 36 million. So a whole million of those people are just Ukrainian refugees. That's crazy. I mean, even Uganda is bigger than Poland, technically, with more people. It's obviously going to be a bit harder to take in more refugees if you don't have that many people yourself. It's interesting how that map kind of reflects how close you are to conflict, but also being a target for a lot of refugees. They want to move there, but not always. You don't always necessarily want to move to these countries. That's just the convenient place to go in the chaos. Lebanon hosts millions of Syrian refugees even today, which is colossal given the size of its own population. That is exactly what I was talking about. Of course, there's so many different terms and definitions for refugees and who is a refugee and who isn't. I mean, this data is showing 123 million people were forcibly displaced. Only one of these countries is not next to a war zone. I'm assuming that's Germany. I was wondering about the Venezuelans. That Venezuela doesn't seem to be included on this map. I've met a lot of people from Venezuela here in the US. Yeah, the per capita data here is so fascinating. That's when you really see how low Poland is. But again, there's all sorts of different definitions going on here. Thank you to my patrons this month. Drew seems like the kind of guy who never loses the remote. Drew's Argentinian Trust Fund, RIP Grandpa. Drew Supremacy League. Alexander the Terrible. Carmel S. Connor Pavlik. Douche Baggins. Frederick Tiblin. King. Bear Hayes. Luxembourg Lover. Miglu. The Goat. Nolan. Nord Tyrol. And Tambrin.